I mean, I could have shopped around other media opportunities. I think I maybe could have tried to do more traditional broadcasting. But, I have a face for radio, Becky. So
shut up. If I could punch you through this camera, I would. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Teaming Up with Becky Sauerbrunn, brought to you by the Women's Game. I'm Becky, and this is a show where we meet people in and around the game of soccer and connect with who they are by talking about what they love and what they nerd out on. Today is a very special day on the podcast. We are teaming up with former U.S. Women's National Team, NWSL, and WSL midfielder, current editor-in-chief of the Women's Game, podcast host extraordinaire, the Tower of Power herself, my incredible friend, Sam Mewis. I've shared soccer fields, boardrooms, podcasts, and the stage with her over the course of our friendship, and I can easily say that she is the ultimate teammate. Those fortunate enough to share space with her know her humor, sass, intelligence, drive for excellence, and vulnerability combine to make an incredible friend. As soccer players, sharing your scars is so relatable because we all have physical scars, but we also have the emotional and psychological scars that come from the challenges and failures that playing elite sports gives us. So how do you make it easier for that next player up, for that next generation? You share your stories, what happened, why it happened, how it was handled, learnings and regrets, all of it. And I really can't think of a person that better encapsulates this value than Sam. Her willingness to share her every thought and scar could make even the hardest of hearts melt into a puddle. When her career was cut short due to injury, she gracefully pivoted to investing her passion for the beautiful game into connecting with people in the soccer community. She's open and vulnerable and brave. She is our fearless leader here at the Women's Game, and it's her kindness and ability to believe in those around her that make her so great at what she does, just like those same qualities made her an amazing teammate. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with the one and only Sam Mewis. Sam, I'm so excited to officially welcome you to Teaming Up. Oh, how the tables have turned, and you are now at my interviewing mercy.
Oh my gosh, Becky, this is so fun. I'm like on vacation.
I hope so. I hope you enjoy just the hell out of this.
I plan to. It's going to be so great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. I feel so fortunate that the universe seems to want us around each other. When we're not guaranteed a few weeks every month living and playing together with the national team, it could have been really easy for us to drift apart. But here we are, teammates again. Well, I guess technically you're my boss, and might I say, you're a great boss at that. You are invested. You're a great boss, and you're so invested in every project that goes on here at the Women's Game. But Teaming Up has kind of been kept separate from everything you're involved in because we really wanted you to feel like a guest, to be properly inducted into the Nerd Squad. So this will be different from what we usually do on Good Vibes, where we catch up and chat. On this show, I'm trying to get to the heart of people's stories and to the why their passion and emotions and love for the game inspire them to move our sport forward. Are you ready to delve into the story of the woman, the myth, the legend that is Sam Mewis?
I am so ready. I'm really excited to go wherever you're going to take me.
So I like to start the conversation with our guests by having them take us back to their chapter one with the sport. And while you're my friend, and I know you grew up playing soccer in Hanson, Massachusetts with your big sister, Kristie, I don't know if we've ever talked about how you fell in love with the game. So if you could set the scene for us, the sights, the sounds, and the feel of those moments when you realized soccer was something special to you. Like, what memories take you back to that time?
I feel like a few things take me back to that time. I know exactly the moment where I knew I wanted to be good at soccer, and that was seeing the U.S. Women's National Team play on TV for the first time. But why I was even watching that, or why I was even exposed or decided I wanted it in that moment, must have been because I already loved playing the game. And I think that it must have started, Kristie and I both played in this little kindergarten league at our elementary school where the goals were just these like 2 orange cones, and it was just kind of like a made up kindergarten league for 5-year-olds. I don't remember specifically like my first time going, but I remember we always got munchkins after from Dunkin' Donuts. That was incredible. And like to this day, I love munchkins. So it could have just been the donuts. But I do also think, and this is kind of getting into the psychology of like, you know, my evolution into being a fully fledged human being. I think that I loved soccer because I felt like a part of the team, and I loved soccer because I was good at it. And it was like this place for me as a very, in some ways, typical little sister, like a little bit insecure, always measuring myself up to somebody better, prettier, smarter, older. my soccer experience was very much like, you belong here and you're good at this. And so I think it just naturally became the place that I was like happiest.
Yeah, I that's what I think I felt in love with soccer the most, is that sense of belonging. Like you have found something where you feel safe and you can express yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I think it also had to do with like my teammates. Like I think, and I may be skipping ahead to being maybe in middle school, but it's like I felt like kind of a loner until later in high school, but never at soccer. Like I always at soccer, whether it was, my town team, my club team, just playing in the backyard with my neighbors, that was where I felt like socially accepted. Even though sometimes like in school or at a dance or going to the mall, I felt like such a freak. Like I felt like such an outsider, but never at soccer. So it was the place I could be comfortable and be myself and be accepted.
Yeah, it's like a built-in group of friends all the time.
Yeah, which I needed.
Well, battling against your sister and all this built-in group of friends made you into a little superstar. Young Sam grew into a breakout star at UCLA and was a familiar face on the youth national teams, helping the U20 team win the 2012 FIFA World Cup. Between your success collegiately and with the youth national teams, you were generating so much momentum in your game, which led you being named to the U.S. Women's National Team senior team in 2014. That first call-up to the senior team is always so special. Where were you, and what was your reaction to getting the email inviting you into camp?
Well, what I really remember was being in college. I remember my college apartment. I shared a one bedroom. I was in LA, so I shared a one bedroom with two other girls. So it was three girls in one bedroom with like one other living room and a bathroom.
Goodness.
I know, it was wild. I feel like it was on Kelton. Anybody who went to UCLA will know that. And I remember getting actually a text from Tim Ryder, who was the U.S. Women's National Team coordinator at the time, but thinking that it was like kind of spam. Like I didn't know who Tim Ryder was. So getting this text saying, "Can you please call me? This is Tim Ryder from the U.S. Women's National Team," something along these lines. And my first invite was just to come out to training. This was like before my first official call-in, but I didn't have a car. So I'm like, yeah, I can like come to training tomorrow at 10 a.m. and like I'll miss class. I'll like miss whatever I have to do. But I needed to borrow Abby Dahlkemper's car. So then I'm like, is anybody else going to this? Like, should I talk to my coach? Like, how am I going to get there? And I remember then also calling my dad to be like, can I use my emergency credit card to put gas in Abby's tank to thank her for letting me borrow her car? Like, it was this whole thing.
That's so wholesome.
It was like very wholesome. But so I went to like 2 days of training. We could get into that. I had to mark Lauren Holiday in a 5v5 game and like literally thought they would never call me back again in my life. And then I got called into that like next camp where I also like didn't do great.
So the national team was not on your radar at all.
I mean, it was all I ever thought about, but you just don't expect to get a text to come to training. Like, and I was in college. I think I was a sophomore or a junior in college. So I was thinking about other things, I think. Not that soccer wasn't my number one priority, but you're just caught up in your own world. And I knew the national team was there because my sister must have been in that camp. So I'm like, I had this like tethered awareness of like what was going on and was just surprised, I think, to get the text.
You did well enough to then make the roster. And unfortunately, you do have the dubious distinction of starting your senior team career with a few losses. And you've joked about this on other podcasts, but you did join the team during a challenging time for the program. Our results weren't good. The 2015 Women's World Cup was just around the corner, and the higher ups at US Soccer decided we needed a change. So the coach that brought you into the team was let go, and you found yourself in the wilderness a bit, that in-between space of new and talented, but not having enough time to really establish yourself as a regular in the pool. Can you walk me through your mindset during this time?
Yeah, because I remember it so vividly. Like, I remember going into January camp. I remember I like scored a goal on a free kick in January camp of 2015. And I remember Kristie scored a goal in the same like inter squad. And I remember like looking at her like, this must mean something good. Like, we're going to like maybe get called back and like go to the next camp. But then vividly remember Jill saying, you're not coming to the next camp, but like kind of stay ready. Like, you're not totally out of it. But then I remember, Becky, and this is such insight into me that I probably don't share that much, but I'm so crazy competitive that I remember specifically that Tori Huster got called into the following camp. And I was like so upset because I was like, that's a direct replacement. It means Jill didn't think I was good enough, but she thinks Tori Huster might be good enough. And I remember being like so angry that somebody else got the opportunity that I wanted and like harbored a resentment against Tori Huster, who is the nicest, sweetest. I have so much respect for her, love her, think she was a great player. She's been so great for everything, but harbored this resentment against starting every other midfielder that could ever play for the national team instead of me. And then I just remember waiting and watching that team go on and win. And the camp that they invited in new players, I got invited into that. But it was, one of the moments I remember specifically being like, oh, I'm so pissed that she picked somebody else instead of me.
Well, that fuel to your fire must have really worked because you shined in the NWSL. You were Rookie of the Year finalist in 2015, to winning the NWSL championship in 2016 with the Western New York Flash, to being named to the Best 11 and a finalist for the Most Valuable Player award in 2017, to going on to win back-to-back championships in 2018 and 2019 with the North Carolina Courage. You made a move to Manchester City in 2020, making an immediate impact in their midfield and earning a spot on the FAWSL PFA Team of the Year at the end of the season. I remember texting you while you were away. I'm not sure if you remember it or not. And I was just raving about how good you were playing. Like, you went on a legendary run of success, Sam, and that's just your club career during this time. You were playing on a different level than the rest of us mere mortals. What did it feel like for you on the field? Did you even realize how dominant you were?
No, I had no idea. It's so funny to listen to it back because I think, of course we're getting to this, but in all of the hindsight of my career, it's so clear to me now that I was on this upward trajectory and it wasn't, steady. I had my knee injury first happened in 2017. I was out for 6 months. I actually felt like not making the Olympics in 2016, going as an alternate was like this huge blow to my confidence. But then I started every game with you, and I were the only ones who started every game for the national team in 2017. I feel like that's an interesting fact. Mm-hmm. And then by 2019, I was kind of like back firing. But then it was COVID. So there are all these things that like interrupt that beautiful stream of success that you just named that I had accomplished. And so I never felt like I was on the national team. I never felt like I was one of the best players in the league. I never felt recognized for being like a top player. And I think it's clear now hearing it all back that I wish I had realized and I wish I had had more confidence, because I think I would have handled my relationship to like the authority figures in my career with more authority myself, with more confidence, and I would have protected myself more and I would have stood up for others more. But I was still, and it's funny now that we're circling back, I was still had that little sister mindset of like, I don't know if I really belong here. I don't know if I'm really good enough. I'm just going to like do whatever everybody tells me and kind of let things happen to me. So it's interesting to hear you list it all out, and it kind of changes the way I think back on those years.
It sounds like you're talking about imposter syndrome a little bit. And I also have gone through that for most of my career. And I almost wonder, in a really screwed up way, if that's why I had the longevity and the success with the national team as I did, because I always had this sense that I always had to prove that I deserved to be here, as opposed to being like, no, I deserve to be here. Like, would that have taken something away from my game? And it's so like convoluted and unhealthy, but it does just kind of make you wonder, is like, did it work out the way it was because of who we are and how we see ourselves? I don't know.
I agree with you that trait got me to success, but it also in the end, because of the nature of my injury, like ended up really hurting me.
Yeah. And we are going to get to your injury, and unfortunately, but
I know I just can't wait for it. I just have to bring it up every time.
But I do want to keep talking about that kind of upward trajectory just a little bit longer. So you were extremely successful with the national team, 2019 Women's World Cup winner, 2020 U.S. Soccer Player of the Year, a bronze medalist at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. We've spoken about your experience with the senior team and how, of all these accomplishments to choose from, some of your fondest memories were the late night gatherings in the snack room, eating goldfish and popcorn with your friends, talking about everything and nothing at all. Why do you think those memories, the quieter, less public moments, eclipse the louder, flashier ones for you?
I mean, my gosh, this is like so funny. I never expected that this would take me to this place, but it's like, it's because that's where I felt I belonged. Like having friends and feeling included socially was so pivotal to my like development as a person. I think I remember going through like my whole middle school years and just feeling like I didn't have a group of friends. And I watched my older sister with there was this group of 4 girlfriends that she had, and they were so close and they did everything together and they were like beautiful and fun. And I just never had that in middle school. As I, grew up into high school, I kind of got it. And then, through college, but I think that's why soccer brought me friendships that made me feel finally like people liked me and that I like fit in somewhere and that I could be myself somewhere. And so I think it's like when I think about Rose and Sonnet and Abby Dahlkemper and Lynn, my friendships with them made me feel like safe. And especially in an environment where you literally never feel safe on the field, in front of the crowds, with people commenting about how you're playing online. Like it's such a rocky environment that those moments of like safety and like inclusion and belonging were just like so sacred to me.
Well, I instantly liked you. And I remember a moment in the snack room where I walked in, you were pouring yourself a cup of popcorn, and I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, hey, can I also have some popcorn? And you were like, yeah. So you like gave me your cup and then filled up another cup and gave me that cup. And I was like, is there enough for you? And you lied to my face and said, yeah, there's plenty for me. And then
I poured my cup of crumbs.
Yeah, and I think Rose later basically tweeted out the empty cup of crumbs and that you had lied to me. And I was like, oh, well, that's really sweet, but also not good that she feels like she had to give me all the popcorn. And I was like, okay, we're not quite there yet with our relationship.
No, Becky, you like don't get it. You're misreading it.
But then
it was like reverence for you. It was just like, it wasn't that I was afraid of you or that I like I wasn't comfortable. It was just a reverence. Like, Becky, please have my popcorn. Like, you're Becky Sauerbrunn. I love you. But keep going.
And then I think you said something, and I wish I had a better memory, but it was kind of sarcastic, a little snarky. And I go, there she is. And I was like, I love this girl. Like that's it. We are there now. Like we've got a relationship.
You don't remember what it was?
I don't. And I think you were making fun of somebody. And that's, but in a really funny, sweet way. And
that's the thing. When I trust people, like I feel like I give off very nice girl, you would never make fun of anybody vibes. But when I really trust you, I'll talk some shit. And so if I was making fun of somebody and like doing this to you, like elbow, Becky, did you hear me? Like that meant I really trusted you.
Okay. So I read that situation well. Like we were in at that point.
Yay. Yes, we were.
Okay. Now on to more sad stuff. Your early retirement was a heartbreaking decision that came after battling with a knee injury, like you said, for several years. And being in chronic pain is mind-consuming. The anticipation of stepping wrong or tackling wrong are those first gingerly steps you take in the morning that'll indicate what kind of day you're going to have. But injury is more than just physical pain. It's emotional and psychological. It's the fear of missing time with your team on the field, the stress of wondering if you'll make it back to the form you were originally in, the doubting of your body, and if it'll allow you to go through a full training session or an entire game. You're going through this inner turmoil while outwardly continuing to put in shifts on the field and being a supportive teammate. And when you think back on this time, when you're realizing that something just isn't right with your knee, but you're still getting minutes on the field, what do you remember struggling with the most? And what helped you persevere through the worst of it?
It's so tough. I think I remember really vividly the 2021 Olympics because it was kind of like the beginning of the end. And I didn't know that. I had been told I got my original injury in 2017, was out for about 6 months, struggled with it on and off through 2018, 2019, 2020. My time at Man City was really up and down. I remember especially in the spring, this is off topic, but like I would bring home the Normatex and the Game Ready every single day from the facility, and Rose every morning would see me carrying both, and she'd go, what hurts the worst today? Like, what are you going to get treatment on? And it was because like I had rolled my ankle, my knee was really bad, I had plantar fasciitis, and I had thrown my back out. It was funny because Rose would say, "What are you going to get treatment on? Like, what hurts the worst?" And we would laugh, but it was so clearly a signal that like I'm hobbling around playing, trying to gear up and convince, and this sounds crazy, convince US Soccer that I could make the Olympic team because I was good enough when I was the player of the year before for US Soccer. Like, why in my head, and I know you'll relate to this, I thought they weren't going to let me that they didn't think I was good enough to make the Olympic team was crazy. So I'm like killing myself physically trying to be ready for the Olympics, limping around. And I just remember at the Olympics, I could barely walk after the games. I would hobble to the treatment room. I would ask the doctor, "Can I take stronger medicine?" And she'd say, "No, I'm worried about your stomach." And I'd say, "Well, I can't play like this." All I was doing was getting treatment. And in my head at some point during the Olympics, I was just like, obviously I'm not playing well. I have to try to help the team because I'm here, but I'm doing everything possible. I had been getting injections, like in the whole buildup. I was taking medicine. I was in the game ready all day, doing exercises, not doing anything outside of training, never going for walks or like doing any impact. And in my head, at some point, I just said, all right, I'm going to have to get a scope because I'm just not helping the team. And I think it was that really the idea that like I couldn't play effectively anymore that bothered me the most. And what got me through it, literally, I have no idea because when you're at the Olympics, you're trying to help the team win. Like that's what gets you through it. But it's just like, I got into this spiral of like, I don't even know if it would be responsible for me to tell them that I can play because I can't really walk.
I remember you struggling with the pain, and we were all struggling for different reasons at that tournament. Obviously, none of us were playing great. It was during COVID, so none of us had kind of our support systems there aside from one another, but we were all going through things. So it was just like...
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite tournament.
I can safely say that I agree wholeheartedly with you on that one. You've spoken about the challenge around making the decision to retire because there was so much uncertainty around the injury and the possible surgeries and pathways that could maybe get you back to the field, but weren't at all guaranteed. What was the deciding factor that led you to announce your retirement last year?
Yeah, I got that scope expecting to come back and play in 2022. Went to Kansas City thinking that their medical team would help me get back on the field. I thought that their medical team and the whole system in place was going to be better than what was at North Carolina. Tried to come back, came back, played in a game and a half in the spring of 2022, and then just was back where I started, where I couldn't walk. I remember playing a half of a game away in Chicago in the preseason Challenge Cup, and I couldn't walk in the airport on the way home. And just being like, okay, nobody knows, nobody has an answer. And that was the start of like a series of like build up for 6 weeks, take 6 weeks off, try a brace, get a new injection, build up for 6 weeks, realize I can't do it, take a step back. At one point during that time in Kansas City, the medical team actually pulled me in the office and was like, we can't keep watching you do this. Like you clearly can't play. You have to make a different decision. And at that time, my options were retire right then, get this humongous transplant cartilage graft surgery that nobody was recommending to be a good idea, or I guess just keep going. But like we were kind of deciding in that moment that like keeping going was never going to work. It wasn't really an option. And I was like, I can't retire right now. I'm not prepared for this. What am I going to do for health insurance? I don't have another job lined up. Like I can't just retire right now. I thought I was going to go to the World Cup. Like, I'm not ready to retire. And so I like put off the decision for 6 months, ended up getting this huge surgery, which was like a 1.5 to 2 year recovery. My knee is really no better than it was before. And I got this surgery to kind of prolong the hope of coming back. And so when I decided to retire, it was always inevitable. I just couldn't do it in the moment, like, because I wanted to exhaust every option. I got on planes to see surgeons in person. I sent my MRIs to 10 people. I spoke with multiple surgeons, and nobody gave me an option that felt reasonable or good or positive or promising. And so announcing my retirement was just like this inevitable thing that I had been putting off for over a year, probably longer. And it honestly was, I just needed time to sort my like life out. And there was no other like option.
If you could envision the ending that you wanted to your career, what would it look like?
Well, I'd still be playing. That's the thing. I would have loved to go to the 2023 World Cup. I would have loved to go to the Olympics last summer. I would love to still be playing now. I'd love to be in the NWSL. I think I could still like be a really great player. Like we said, my career was on this upward trajectory, and I would love my retirement to look more similar to some of the retirements that we've celebrated recently, where you have a last game and you get subbed out and it's your decision, and you do have this succession plan for what you're going to do next. And you know what you're going to do for health insurance the following months and years. Like, I would have loved to be like, I mean, I was celebrated, but I would have loved to like choose it for myself and be celebrated like on the field, like walking off on my own accord. It just wasn't in the cards for me. And it's taken me a really long time to kind of like get over that and not be crying about it right now.
Did it give you any sense of peace when the decision was made, or are you still in that kind of ongoing grieving process?
I think I'm better now than I was last January. I think last January it felt like you have to rip the Band-Aid off. Like you really don't have another choice. If you wait any longer, you're giving up a great opportunity to do this job, and your ego is preventing you from seeing the truth, which is what was happening. I think even for a lot of people in my life, they couldn't see the truth either. And so there was almost no clear nudge from anybody except Pat, who really could see the writing on the wall, that like he sees me limp every day and he sees my knee give out when I go up the stairs. And Pat was just like, you have the rest of your life. You can't keep trying to come back to play soccer. Soccer has told you that you can't do this anymore. You physically can't do this anymore.
We're going to get into your transition into the media space, because despite retiring from the sport, you are still such a force in women's soccer. But first, I wanted to ask you about different aspects of your retirement, the challenges and triumphs you've experienced from the physical, emotional, and mental side of the transition. So you're still physically very active, competing in swimming races, Lake Tahoe, hiking with your dogs, biking through the gorgeous backdrop that is Vermont. But does soccer have a role in any of your activities, even just kicking the ball around in the backyard or playing a pickup game here or there?
No, sadly, no. I don't run. I love walking, and I love all the things that you just named. But even when I coached a team over the past 2 summers, the Vermont Green women's team, even there, I don't really demo. I do all of these activities with the understanding that if I do too much, my knee will hurt. Even like, and this is like so sad/funny, like I love dancing. And so like when I go to a wedding, I'm like dancing. But like I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago and like my knee kills still now, and is like gave out on the stairs like earlier today, where I'm like, oh, ow, because it's like catching and hurting. And so I think right now in my life, there is a trade-off. Like I want to be really physically active, and I really value that. It's an important part of my life: walking my dogs, swimming, riding my bike, being active, lifting weights. I know all of the tools I need to protect my knee and be strong and prevent a lot of the pain that I was feeling when I was playing soccer. But anything extra that I do, going for too long of a hike, or coaching a team and like being out on the field and being on my feet all day, like there's always a trade-off, and my knee still bothers me most days. So no soccer, sadly.
No soccer, sadly. I can only imagine that emotionally that transition has been a little more difficult. A lot of your closest friends and former teammates are still playing at such high levels, some of them having recovered from their own injury struggles. And even though you're an amazing friend, and I know you are so proud of everything they're accomplishing, I imagine it's difficult to think about what could have been for yourself. How do you balance those two emotions?
Again, now, like right now in 2025, I feel like I've come mostly out on the other side of a very long, dark tunnel of like distancing myself from my friends at times, feeling maybe like even misunderstood. Like, I mean, I dove headfirst into this like totally new career path that not very many professional athletes like understand, sitting at a computer and like working with a team of other office workers. Like my friends don't necessarily relate or understand. Like when I would go visit friends and I'd be on my computer and they'd be like, what are you doing? And it was just this like kind of funny, we had to like relearn each other. Our worlds were now different and everybody tried really hard. And like, I have kept in close touch with friends that mean a lot to me. And it is so important that I have done that. But I think when I think back to like 2023, I like reported on the World Cup and it's like, that was crazy. Like that, me thinking that I was like emotionally okay to do that. And then even last year, the moment I retired, working and interviewing players, it was kind of like I was forced to get over it, because if I couldn't get over it, it would have been like torture to be this close to it, to watch every game, to analyze other midfielders. When I had just said earlier in this interview, I was so competitive with them. I wouldn't have been able to see anything clearly. I wouldn't have been able to do this job. And I think part of me realizes how awesome this job is and how healing it has been for me, even though it was kind of like the worst, like what's like a horrible pain. Like it's like peeling off a scab. Like not that that's healing, but I just had to do it. And so I'm really grateful for it. But I also think it was like so hard for like a year when I just really 2022, 2023, and even part of 2024, I was like not myself. And I think that when you speak to retiring athletes, yeah, there's like a period where you're figuring out your new life. And I feel like mine maybe got like just dragged out a little bit longer in a little bit more of a painful way. But I'm doing better now.
I love to hear that. And I mean, I obviously missed the World Cup in 23 for injury, and working with you during that World Cup, it was like a part of a healing process, because like you, like soccer was what made me feel like I belonged, what made me feel special. And so losing that, you do feel really isolated. And so working with you through the World Cup, I was like, oh, I'm not isolated. I have people that I love, that love me, that we're going through this together.
Yeah, I know. Even just hearing you say that, it's so funny, because it's like it's also been this has also been a return to actually being less isolated. Like I think when you're playing, you feel so connected to your teammates, and that the soccer world is so important, but you don't realize that you're missing a bunch of important stuff in other people's lives that like just goes lower down your totem pole. And we've talked about this before: weddings, birthdays, regular cookouts with your family. You're isolated away from the rest of the world, traveling all the time, and you're doing all this cool stuff. But like, I think one of the things that has helped me heal and come back to myself has been realizing and trying to be appreciative of the anti-isolation of just like returning to normal life and being able to be like, oh, I'm gonna like call a friend and go to dinner, or I get to go to that wedding, or I get to go to my cousin's, or like do all these things that I never got to do because soccer was pulling me the other way.
Yeah. So soccer, whether you have a 2-year or a 20-year career, it's beautiful, but a brief chapter in what is hopefully a long and fulfilling life like we're talking about right now. Mentally, the transition after retirement for any athlete can be challenging, because you're forced to answer the age-old question, what's next? You had dabbled in podcasting before, having done a show called Snacks with Linby and Dolo from 2021 until 2023. And that show was the first time fans could see what your friendship with Lynn was like outside of soccer. And it was an introduction to the potential that was in store for you in sports media. When you were thinking about what your next steps would be after your playing career, did you quickly see the potential of Sammy Media, or was it more of just a fun thing on the side for you?
It honestly, I'm so grateful that I got to do Snacks while I was still playing. I know everybody has a podcast now, but it felt at the time like something really new and cool that me and Lynn got to do kind of before everybody was doing it. And in that way, I think we got a little head start into like practicing it and having an audience for it and learning how to do it. And I also think it showed me that there was like potentially something that could bridge the gap between my playing career and my post-soccer career. And then honestly, the opportunity to work with Men in Blazers in 2023 for the World Cup was a really great opportunity. Like, they paid me money to do it, and I felt like it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And then that relationship from there, in a way that sounds like crazy, I think this is true of everybody with like a job, but it's like I was relying on the NWSL and on US Soccer to like pay me and give me health insurance and take care of me and give me a purpose in my life. And when that was literally being like leaving, being ripped away, being like not by my choice, they were not going to have my back anymore. I feel like Men in Blazers was like there. And they were like, we value you as a podcaster. We value you as a human being, as a person. We're here. Do you want to come work here full time and get paid and have health insurance? And it just felt like I got to jump from like one ship that was taking me through life into another one. And that maybe like sounds weird. I've never said it out loud like that before, but I'm just so grateful that somebody was there that valued what I could bring to the table and just said, we'll have your back now.
Aside from sports media, what were some of the other more random things you were considering for your next steps? Like, I was thinking for myself, it'd be really nice to work in a bookstore, especially one that had like an attached cat cafe.
Oh my God, I want that for you.
Thank you. I also want that, maybe eventually.
I feel like you can like start that. What else was I considering? Like, I think that's what's so crazy about it is like, I don't really know. I don't really think I was like, I mean, I could have shopped around other media opportunities. I think I maybe could have tried to do more traditional broadcasting but you know, I have a face for radio, Becky. So
shut up. If I seemed like the right this camera, I would.
This seemed like the right path for me. I never really seriously considered like stopping everything I was doing to get my coaching licenses or like moving to try that route. Like, I wanted to the freedom of mostly working from home. And yes, I travel a little bit for work, but talking to people from all over the world from my guest bedroom / office studio was really appealing to me. I'm like a homebody. I love my dogs. I love being home. And so when I had this opportunity, I didn't really brainstorm that much else.
So in your retirement announcement, you did offer the silver lining to fans who love watching you shine by sharing that you were becoming the editor-in-chief of a new media vertical with Men in Blazers called The Women's Game. How did the vision for The Women's Game and for your role as editor-in-chief come about?
I think that I did not really know what I was getting myself into at all.
Corporate world.
Yeah, I think I wanted to work here. I wanted to cover the US Women's National Team and the NWSL and the WSL. My kind of dream at the beginning was to be like the place that covered kind of all of it. I wanted to talk to players and tell their stories. I wanted to have an opinion about the things that were going on. And I think the job was there on the table, and it was so appealing in so many ways for all the reasons I've listed out before. I did feel like I had more to offer the game. I did feel like all the things that I've been through, from my injury to fighting for equal pay to playing in England and playing for the national team and playing in the NWSL, all the things I'd gone through, I felt like made up this resume of experience that could still really contribute to the landscape in some way. And so I hope that this role, and as editor-in-chief, I don't really know where that came from. I just, said, sure, that sounds good.
It sounds awesome.
It sounds great. It
Yeah.
sounds way above what I think I'm really doing here. But the people around me in this company and in this job have made me so much better at this. And that's almost what I mean when I say I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I think that I was like an okay podcaster before I started working here. And the investment in me to make me better and to make me understand the media and effectively communicating and delivering information to an audience has been something I really didn't expect.
The Women's Game has grown exponentially. You are the face of the brand, our fearless leader. You have a team of producers, social media coordinators, and people like Lynn and me who look to you for guidance. How have you found being a leader for a media network different from being a leader on any of the teams that you played on?
The media's wild, first of all. It's it's like on all the time. Like there's always something. And I think it was just a totally new world and landscape that I really had to like, time helps you learn it, and like reps helps you learn it, and watching other people do it helps you learn it. And it is different. It is also like being there for people, communicating well, trying to be honest but respectful with your opinions and the things that you're weighing in on, trying to consider more than one perspective. Like I think as a player, we prioritize the player perspective so much, but as soon as you talk to the coach or talk to the GM, you'd be like, oh, I didn't really even think of that. And it's the same here. It's like not just internally in like an office setting, but with my opinion. I can't just think of the players, even though first and foremost, that's my priority. I also want to consider some of the other factors at play and in what's going on in the whole like picture. So it's not too different, but it's a lot of like typing.
What you were talking about seeing kind of the bigger picture, you have been so good about that. And it really is a transition when you go from player to media to be able to kind of see all the aspects. And you've handled it with such grace and with a really wide perspective. And I've always kind of wondered, did you always have that skill, or do you think you really learned it through your time and experience in the media?
I wonder. I think I've always been like and I don't like to say it that it's like a devil's advocate thing, because I don't really think that's what it is. But I do think that I have almost like an empathy for the other person. Like in an argument, I will very easily be like, oh my gosh, I totally understand why you would have felt that way, and I'm so sorry. Like that's so easy for me to say. I think I've always just been aware that everybody else's perspective is just as valid as mine. And so I think when we're looking at an issue like we talked a lot over the summer about the different confederations, regional tournaments, and which ones are getting investment and which ones aren't. And I think I'm just so aware that there's so much I don't know. And I want to research and read and learn about what the players are going through and what's prohibiting confederations from investing more, and the infrastructure, and what it's like for the fans, and why are brands not putting dollars behind this. And I think I'm just trying to be aware that there's so much I don't know, because I'm also like kind of a baby in the industry. I spoke with Katie Nolan, who's like a huge, all types of sports. She's been in this industry for years. And I just feel like she has a foundation of knowledge that I just don't have yet. But in 10 years, maybe I will have it and I can weigh in on these things with more confidence. So I've been trying to like be empathetic and like give myself grace that like I've been doing this for a year and a half. So I don't know that much.
I think you're selling yourself short a little bit, but what has been your favorite, or what's been the most rewarding part about being editor-in-chief for the women's game?
It's honestly like getting to hang out with you guys still. I think
Great answer.
I think that like a lot goes into it behind the scenes, and I'm so grateful to the team that puts in all this work, and then I like get to steal their jokes and claim them as my own, which is really cool to sometimes have people give you jokes, then you get to say them and people laugh at them. But it's like anytime I'm interviewing, whether it's one of my really good friends or hanging out with you on Good Vibes, or even talking to a player that I don't really know that well yet, I feel so connected to them, more connected than, you know, you're connected to your teammates, but like I feel like my net now is bigger. Like I'm casting like this wider net of players I get to have real conversations with, and get to know and then cheer for. And I think ultimately the goal is when a listener feels connected, gets to hear a player's story, gets to hear exactly what you're doing here, then you feel connected to them when you watch them. And then when they score a goal, you're so much happier because you care about them as a person. And I think that's what I really want for women's soccer, is for the more stories we can tell, the more connected the fans feel to the players, the more people will care, the more brands will get involved, the more viewers there will be. And I view that as like my way of contributing now, is spreading like awareness and stories and feeling connected to more players in the hopes that that will help grow the game.
Although your connection to the sport is a little different nowadays, you're involved in so many other ways in addition to the work you do with the women's game. You've had coaching opportunities with the Vermont Green women's team, and you are a member of the athlete advisory board for the newest NWSL franchise, the Boston Legacy. You are so involved in the evolution and progress of women's soccer. What continues to make this sport so special to you?
I think that soccer has given me like everything. I feel like from when I was like just eating munchkins after, and like that's probably why I fell in love with the game, to having it help me bond with my sister, to having it help me have a reason to be with family, a reason for people to come see me play, a reason to connect, a place to belong, a career, and then another career when the first one ended kind of like unfairly and sadly. It has just always been the thing, the constant in my life. And I think there are days where I love watching games and I love watching my friends play. And there are days where it feels like work. And that was true when I was a player too. But I think that because it has been so consistent in my life, it feels like such an important and integral part of my life and part of who I am. I love it for everything that it's given me. My friends, my relationship with my family, my career, my happiness, my sadness. It's just like been there for all of it and been the cause of so much of my like journey.
And now you're sharing that with the world.
I know.
So that everyone can experience it.
I know.
It's a beautiful mission.
I hope so. I really do hope so. Sometimes I get caught up in this like very existential, like what's the point of sports? And if all it is to connect people and make people feel a part of something, then I think that's like enough.
That's more than enough. It's a really, truly beautiful thing that you're doing.
Thanks, Reeves.
Yeah. Well, I am so thankful I had the opportunity to celebrate you and to share your wonderfulness with our audience. And luckily, fans have even more opportunity to bask in your awesomeness with your newest podcast, Mewis Squared. How has it been working with your sister, Kristie?
It's been literally so wild and like pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. Not to throw her under the bus, but we're teaching her very basic computer skills. And I'm kind of like, what's going on here? How do you not know how to do this? But it's been so fun. And honestly, we have so many stories to tell that we've never really had the chance to tell, which is surprising. I think I've been podcasting for so long. We've done so many things in the media, but we're telling stories about our childhoods growing up together, times we've been in with the U.S. Women's National Team together, playing in the backyard, what it was like to be competitive with each other growing up. And some of those things, getting to relive them is so fun for us. And I think that hopefully our listeners will really appreciate kind of just getting to bask in that sister relationship and, you know, hear us kind of connect our experiences to what's going on in the soccer world now. So it's been a blast. I love hanging out with my sister. And again, I feel like how lucky am I that this is my job? I just got to convince them to let me make a show with Kristie, and now that's work.
I mean, I've been really fortunate. I've gotten to play and know both you and Kristie at like different points. Like I got to know Kristie before you. You guys are so different. And yet like there's just something like I just know that you're sisters, and I can never put my finger on what that connecting thread is, but I totally see it.
It's so weird because it genuinely is. People will be like, are you guys alike or different? And I'm like, both.
Yes.
Like we're polar opposites, but we're made out of the same thing.
Yeah. It's really hard to put your finger on it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like yin and yang kind of. Like we're the same circle, but we're just opposites, but we're one.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
You may not know this, but the idea of teaming up came from a little thing called the Nerd Squad from my early U.S. Women's National Team days. And we like to end our show by asking our guests, what are you currently nerding out on? And it can be a piece of art, a genre of media, a certain book series, anything that's really piqued your interest. So right now, what's got you nerding out?
Okay, right now, Becky, I am nerding out on pottery. I picked up doing pottery a few years ago. It's been like one of those little side hobbies that I get really into. I start looking up videos of what I want to make and figuring out how to make it. But throwing on the wheel is really, really hard. And right now I really want to make a pumpkin. And so I'm looking up all these videos and trying to decide if I want to throw it or hand build it, and just like basically how at what point in the pottery process should I be carving and sticking and trimming, etc.
Are you ever going to send me something that you've created?
I told you that I was going to make you an ornament of your cat.
Yeah.
And I never did.
Yeah, I know.
And I never did. But I can throw that one back on the holiday list.
Yeah, throw it on the holiday list because that'll give me a reason to actually put up decorations, because I have never, in all the years living outside of my family's house, have had a tree.
Well, Becky, you know what this Christmas is going to be? Baby's first Christmas, so you're going to have to decorate, and you're going to have to put the baby in a little Santa hat.
I think that baby's just going to be like, where's my milk? I don't think it'll care about anything else.
Well, either way, I'll be sending you, I'll send you something. I don't know why I crossed my fingers.
Because you're lying, that's why.
I want to send you something.
Okay, I would love anything that you are willing to give me.
Okay.
Yes. Sam, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your story. I love you, and I'm so glad that we are doing this together.
Oh my gosh, Reba, I'm so grateful for you every single day, and I love you too. And you can always have my popcorn.
I'm not holding out too much hope that Sam will actually send me one of her ceramics. Like she mentioned, she's promised before and I got nothing. So it's probably because every time I talk to her, she's doing something new and interesting. In her heart of hearts, she would still be playing soccer, and you heard how much she struggled with the decision to medically retire. But she's really embraced this new time in her life. She's helping to grow the women's soccer community and learning how to bake bread. She's a woman of many talents. Bread is kind of something I've been nerding out on myself, not the actual baking of it, more the watching of other people baking it. I'm a huge fan of the Great British Bake Off. I've talked about it on Good Vibes with Sam before. The show really has it all. It's a competition. The bakers are considered amateur but are exceptionally talented. It's somehow wholesome but littered with really suggestive language. And the hosts and judges are hilarious. I was looking up information on Paul Hollywood, who's one of the judges, and he comes off a bit intimidating and kind of callous. And what do I find on his social media? He's also a cat lover. He has 4 cats, and he brags about them all over his social media to show them off. He's holding them like babies, and he's so clearly enamored with them. Everything I find out about the show just makes it better and better for me. I'll have plenty of time to watch GBBO in the near future because this is our last episode of Teaming Up for the year. I have loved recording every single episode, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to all our guest stories of how they're helping to grow the game for the players and for the people. The women's soccer community is a truly special group, committed and capable, supportive and demanding, inclusive and caring. So let's keep it going in the new year. I'll be back in 2026 with a new batch of guests and stories every week. Until then, nerd out, my friends.